because being in a state of rest, relax, and recover is so important, your body has adapted to this in the world around us. We've developed methods of activating your vagus nerve naturally. And we've known about this for literally thousands of years. We've been able to harness our ability to activate our vagus nerves with ancient therapies, such as meditation, such as mindfulness, such as cold water plunges, exercise, and we can go down a list of a variety of different strategies. Deep breathing is one classic one that you see on the internet today, box breathing, if you will. This has been shown to activate your vagus nerve. There are a variety of these natural methods that should be part of your daily life. Now, there are other methods that have been shown to be effective. Safe and sound protocols, one I've learned about from my good friend Steve Porges and from you, Randall, about being a method of externally activating the vagus nerve to modulate the state of threat and the parasympathetic nervous system. It's an underappreciated by the broader medical community, but certainly becoming very well accepted by the psychology community and the threat community as being a really important topic. There are non-invasive approaches, of which there's really two. There is cervical non-invasive vagus nerve stimulation, and that involves stimulating the vagus nerve in the neck through the skin with some proprietary technology that actually doesn't activate the nociceptors. It doesn't activate the fibers that slow your heart, but really activate the fibers that control your physiological function. There are auricular vagus nerve stimulators that have been are used because the vagus nerve is so superficial in the ear that people can develop technologies to stimulate the vagus nerve in the ear. And now, interestingly, these are all afferent fibers going into the brainstem. There has to be a relay for it to have a good physiological effect, but they are important strategies that are out there. Now, there are about 160,000 fibers in the neck, some difference between the left and the right, but I think it's a good take-home message. And there are about 1,000 fibers in the ear. So there's a lot more that you can get to in the neck with both accessing the superhighway of afferent and efferent, or coming in and going out. And then in the ear, it's very easy to access this with some electrical technologies, but they are all afferent approaches. And then finally, the granddaddy of them all is implanted devices. Now, in 1985, a group of investigators started looking at the treatment of epilepsy with an implanted vagus nerve stimulator. After animal studies had shown that we could block seizures from happening. And finally, in 1997, the FDA approved an implanted device for the treatment of epilepsy. And this did, in fact, open up a lot of research into the use of vagus nerve stimulation, artificial electrical stimulation, into a variety of different disorders. But now, at this point, there's an implanted device approved for epilepsy and major depression in the neck with an implanted device. There's also a device that's approved for post-stroke recovery. So if you've lost function of an extremity and you're not getting better with physical therapy, they're actually now implanting these devices, pairing it with physical therapy and rehabilitation, and showing that we can actually help people walk and use their extremity again to drink a cup of coffee and open a door where they couldn't do it before. So these are really fascinating areas, and I think are part of the great frontier of medicine at this point.